include them in there, and that way we can get funding next year. And if our fleet renewal funding stays at about $8,200 per bus, the intent of that is to where is to sorry, I can't talk today. That we'll be able to use fleet renewal to cover 100% of our bus purchases every year instead of having to supplement with local. And so adding 7 more buses that's going to fall under the 10-year window for fleet renewal will help us kind of maximize our fleet renewal and hopefully continue to be at a roughly around 28 to 30 buses per year is what we're going to continue to purchase. Majority.
Buying a bus is great. How about finding bus drivers? How are we doing on that?
I think that's a serious challenge. I know it's a challenge for us, a challenge for everybody in the state.
It's a challenge, and you follow. We put up signs just like they do around here. If you can't find them, or if you find them, they don't stay.
The challenge is worker. It doesn't make a difference if it's driving a bus or if it's working in Walmart or wherever.
You're right.
That's just a problem.
But a bus driver's got to be qualified and checked, and I mean that's another level.
It is.
They have to have a CDL.
Correct. We also allow teachers and other employees if they'd like to get extra dollars by running a bus route. We'll probably continue to encourage that. Not only is that efficient using the employee base that we have today, it's also a cost savings in that we're not having to pay healthcare benefits for another full-time employee riding a bus. So I mean, we'll just kind of continue to.
Okay,
No, we do not allow classified employees to drive a bus. That pretty much statewide is something that has been stopped. We have about 13 to 15 employees who were grandfathered in because they had been classified employees who were driving buses. And when the decision was made years ago to stop doing that because of some wage and hour concerns, we let those people continue and kind of have phased them out through attrition, but have not created any more new situations where we have classified.
And on what Jennifer's saying there, your question about classified, I can speak to when I was at the building level as assistant principal, worked with buses. At that time, you had custodians who were driving buses. A lot of times you couldn't get you an 8-hour custodian, or if you did, you expanded their hours and they were overtime. If they stayed 8, then they got an hour and a half on the front end, an hour and a half on the back end. Or if they were 8, they still got their bus driving, but they only worked 6 as a custodian. So it became a real problem, and a lot of people were taking advantage of it. So that added to us eliminating that.
Well, are we doing anything to maybe encourage some of our teachers? Because I remember a day that, like at Tiffany Middle, I mean, pretty much all the buses were driven by teachers, So I was just wondering, are we reaching out to our teachers by any chance?
Well, I can't say that I have. I know.
Because it really helps with retirement.
I'm sure we can encourage this with our administrators to encourage any teacher that would like to seek a CDL and give them the information they need and contact.
Yeah, and I think we do that. I think principals do encourage teachers to drive buses. I mean, especially like when you have situations where somebody's deciding not to coach anymore, and the principal kind of takes that opportunity to say, "Have you ever thought about driving a bus? Because you're 3 years away from retirement, and 3 years of driving a bus, along with your teacher salary, is going to make a huge difference." And then also, we have worked with our transportation office. They have some county-wide job fairs, and we've provided them with information and and gotten them to set a table up at like I know the Eastern Shore has a job fair, and then the Chamber in Foley does a job fair, and we participated in some of those and have had some success recruiting people who may be retired from another area, or they're a retired military or something like that, and they just want to do something extra. So we've grabbed a few people through those efforts as well, and we'll continue to do that. I just think as soon as we get them all filled, we add more, because we're growing so much. So it is a challenge.
The only other item is that initially a lot of our capital construction programs will carry over from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, and so when I was putting together the budget presentation, those figures were from the beginning of August. I took what our budget versus what has already been paid, and I kind of rolled that forward to FY20. There's been a significant amount of additional payments between the beginning of August and now, and so last week I went and adjusted that And any payments that were made, I reduced that from the budget to try to get as accurate as possible. So that's the biggest adjustment, just trying to make sure that fiscal year carryover for those capital projects were as accurate as I could possibly get it. Any other questions or things you'd like to discuss or concerns or anything of that nature?
John, on that
Yes, sir.
first budget, we got down to the capital improvements. We voted on the addition at Fairhope for the ninth grade academy at
Right.
$6 million.
Right.
You had 9 on there.
Right. It was 6 local, and then we used the proceeds from the sale of the K1 Center that went to fill the rest.
So it was actually $9 million instead of 6.
Yes.
So is every high school gonna get $9 million for a wing for the academy?
It just depends on their capability. In other words, if they have the capability to create the academy within their walls, then we don't have to build them separate. But you know, if that's the charge of the board, we can certainly look at that. But you take like Spanish Fort High School with their new addition, they're not going to need a separate wing for a ninth grade academy. Now Daphne High School will because of their growth, and Fairhope because of their growth. Which you put 500 ninth graders in a separate building, then it's going to relieve the pressure at the main school for the 10th, 11th, 12th graders. So it just depends on the volume of students, really, Mr. Myrick. I mean, I want ninth grade academy to go throughout the county, but unless you as a board say, well, look, we like the idea of a standalone building for ninth graders, and that's something we can look at, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case at every campus. That's the best I can answer on that question.
So, I mean, we'll continue to watch enrollment and projections and capacity levels at the high school, and I mean, I think that's a very good program to utilize throughout the county. So, the last thing is that we met last week and we looked at classroom sizes, and we allocated additional local units and paras to try to address those to the best of our knowledge, and those were included in the budget as well.
Are the ninth grade, I'm sorry, I'm slow. On the ninth grade academy buildings, the standalones that you're picturing, are they all instructional classrooms, or is there any different?
There's no gym in it, there's no cafeteria.
The one in Fairhope's about 42,000 square feet. We got with Dr. Woodburn's office to find out the programming portion on what they felt like they would need for a ninth grade academy. It's basically classrooms, regular classrooms. I think we might have stuck a couple of special ed, some half-size classrooms. It may not have to be used for special ed, but for small groups. We also have a small admin. When I say a small admin, I think just for assistant principal and maybe a secretary or register or something for that, and then the rest of it was just classroom space. So
No additional
And
art
that-
classrooms?
There'll be science lab.
Yeah,
There'll be science
well,
lab, probably
We do
art.
have the science.
They'll have
Yeah.
the capability for all of their ninth grade needs, especially, of course, they would go to band, they would go to their athletics. When they're under roof, which we had at Gulf Shores High School, we just didn't transition the halls at the same time as the upper classes. We were a small school, I mean, everybody packed in there, but we just had different bell schedules, because the county had kind of, more or less said, we're gonna go to ninth grade academies. But at that time, they gave extra counselors, 4 extra teachers, social worker. With the concept we're doing now, that's really not needed, because just about every one of our schools has a counselor for just about every grade. We don't really provide a social worker for every school. We do where there's needed. And I've kind of told y'all before, I want to do really what you think you would like to do, but my concept of a ninth grade academy is to give ninth graders an extra year to mature. Not just physically, but mentally. I mean, I've never been a big supporter of ninth graders walking the halls with 11th and 12th graders. I don't think it's healthy. Never has been healthy. Too many things can happen. I had a daughter, ninth grader, walking the halls with juniors and seniors. I didn't particularly like it. I just think it gives a chance for more growth. Now, if the concept is, let's do a standalone, which it would probably be different in every school, let's just take, let's take Baldwin County High School. You know, growth is kind of stable right there, not really exploding. So, if you did a standalone, their facility wouldn't cost $9 million because it wouldn't need to be as big. It would have everything you need to house, but you know, you would build it to accommodate what you're probably going to have in ninth graders. Same at Robertsdale High School. I talked to Joe. He said, look, I'm just going to experiment with a section of my school. I said, Joe, if you want to do that, that's fine. So I haven't really pushed it out and told every principal to get started this year. I wanted to see how the concept caught on. I know at Farrell High School, in the new wing right now, Mr. Cardwell was able to keep everything down on that wing. When I was down visiting the school, he said, I want you to stand here in this hallway, which I stood at for many years. He said, you remember how heavy the traffic was? So when they were changing classes, I mean, there was hardly any students bumping into each other. I mean, it was just a free flowing because he said the ninth graders were down way over on their new wing, transitioning to their classes. You know, sometimes they might have to come out of there to go to an art class in this current building. But that's just my concept. I mean, that would just be my desire. Of course, as a board, it's however you feel. If y'all feel like you don't really like that idea, then that's fine. I mean, I can always adjust and reroute. But that's just, Mr. Meyer just answered yours. I couldn't tell you that every high school would get their own standalone. It kind of just, the population of the school dictates it. I do want a ninth grade academy, but it might not be a standalone unless you as a board say, well, we love this, we like what we see.
I would think that a standalone would be entirely too expensive. Because then you got to do all this other stuff, and even moving it to the middle school. Are they going to use the middle school's facilities to play?
The gym, not to play. They're just going to use it like it's PE time.
No, I'm talking about for athletics.
No.
But then how are they going to get over to the high school when most of the ninth graders don't drive?
Well, they're right next door to the high school. Fairhope Middle School is where the ninth grade
academy. That is at Fairhope.
Yeah.
So
you could hit the school with a softball. So they would walk right out of their classes at the end of the day and go to band.
Does every high school have enough room?
I think from this point forward, this was just one of those oddities. It just happened to be because they're right next door to each other. The rest of them, like at Daphne, if we did one at Daphne, it would be on the Daphne High School campus. Robertsdale High School the same way. And that $9 million, we're looking at 42,000 square feet. Of course, we're going to try to mimic what we have as far as the aesthetics look on the Fairhope Middle School campus, so it'll be 2-story. But once we do that, I don't think it'll ever hit the $9 million mark. So that's just something that's sitting out there. So that's it. That's like $215 a square foot, and we haven't been anywhere close to that on the simple construction that we're doing. So just with the classroom additions, I think it'll be significantly lower than that. And that's just money we put towards another project.
I have to hold on. I'll present about the next page you go, and I show it costing the same.
Or it could be a wing addition, just like we did at Foley years ago. They built that large wing, and that's where they put all their ninth graders 10 years ago, 10 years ago. And you know, so it's basically, it's an easy concept under roof. You know, principals just have to sit down and say, I got to get creative with my bell schedule and my lunch schedule, and it works. It works. I mean, it changed the culture of my school when we had it, and then of course the money's the bottom. You know, the board pulled it because it just didn't want to continue the money.
Foley High, the north wing was actually, when they built it, it was a ninth grade academy. That was the whole concept. I don't know why it's not now. In Robertsdale High School, I think you could use one of the two back wings for
that addition in the back was original.
Joe's playing around. He hasn't told me exactly what he wants to do, but I'm letting him play with whatever it is he thinks he can make work.
My question just went to the fact that they were mostly all instructional, even with the science lab, they're instructional classrooms. There's no art, no band, no specialty classrooms such as that going into this building. It's all instructional.
If it's under roof, say like at Robertsdale High School, you might not need art down on that end, but he might have an extra teacher that teaches art that teaches down with the ninth graders. And then your upper class maybe has 2 or 3 art teachers, because a lot of schools have several art teachers. But like with that standalone, you know, they could probably get all their extracurricular and everything right there in that 2-story building. But if it's under the roof of, say, Foley or Robertsdale or Baldwin County High School, then I think, you know, you might have some 9th graders leaving their hall to go take art down on another hallway, you know. But it wouldn't be a steady diet.
It also allows us to address, you know, our growth issues in the most efficient way possible, and take a big high school and configure it in a way where it doesn't feel so big. So, versus the alternative of having to rezone, figure out the lines, build the new high school, new athletic facilities, all that kind of stuff. It's just not in the cards right now. It's very difficult to do, and also it's kind of undoable right now from a financial perspective.
The standalone is close enough, and I'm not familiar with Fairhope campus, but close enough so that in the future, if the system said we're not doing 9th grade academy, that it's close enough for the building to be used in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely.
It's right next to the high school. It'll be right in between
You
the
would
high
have
school
a
and the
canopy
middle school.
walk out the door of the academy to the
I
middle school.
wasn't sure where it was going.
Come by, we'll do lunch and walk around back there.
Are you paying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we get to pick the spot?
But only two of you, right? We got to do
No, sir, I believe for lunch they could probably do that too.
We'll defer to Scotty.
But-
That ultimate decision.
But if you know where the outdoor pavilion area is,
Yeah.
it'll be behind that
At the middle school.
at the middle school. So, yeah. So right in between the 2 facilities.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Or all right, we'll call that the end of the second budget hearing.
Under an hour.
Yeah, under an hour. That's right.
But I do appreciate you as a board at least entertaining the concept. You know, naturally I might have a thought, but then you as a 7-member board might say, well, you know, it's a wonderful thought, but it's not something that fits what we need to be doing, and then we'll go another direction. But I just feel like for our children, and the feedback from parents has been outstanding, that are hearing about their children being separated. You know, that's a wonderful thing.
One of the attractive things about Fairhope too was the cafeteria is just cramped, and that was one of Mr. Carwell's concerns. And we do have that outdoor pavilion, but it's still cramped in there. So by letting them use the middle school, and it's a huge. If you've ever been to Fairhope Middle School, it's like Foley Middle School. So that's another big issue we always.
Well, 6th graders and 9th graders are both age groups. Those 2 age groups are, as I have always described, they are all too little to be big and too big to be little. You know, they just don't fit anywhere. Right?
7th graders have become mature enough to walk the halls of 9th graders, just like sophomores can walk the halls of seniors. It's like I said, 6 and 9 and 9 and 12. That's just my thoughts. But I appreciate y'all considering.
We'll continue our discussion.
Okay. John, you ready for your phase 4 discussion?
Yep.
Okay. What we're going to do, board, we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up phase 3 of Pay As You Go. Somewhere in here, like Baymonette Elementary, still students are going in on the 15th of October, as far as we know, and Alberta somewhere in that same before then. So the teachers have been very patient. The principals have been great. You know, it has been difficult. The virtual school, we just keep thinking any day. Told Frank I didn't text Sue McKee this morning. I usually text her and say, hey, any word on the certificate of occupancy? And he said, it's still there, no word. So it's just, we're just waiting. I mean, everything's there. Electrician, I think, is the only one that hadn't signed off on everything. Or
Electrical engineering, yes.
up at the state. So everything's going to happen. We're going to have all of our ribbon cuttings. We're going to make sure that we bring Magnolia back in there because we forgot them last spring. So we're gonna bring Magnolia in for their addition that was put on there last year. And we'll have all these things, I'm gonna say hopefully before Thanksgiving holidays. But I'm just shooting way out there, meaning that it's gonna come in a lot better. So, but it's gonna be a wonderful thing. I mean, you're gonna see a beautiful school in Bangman if you haven't just ridden by it. Alberta, when they clean that up, it's really beautiful. The virtual school, it's just, if you'll go in and just knock your socks off. I mean, it's just beautiful facilities, and our others are coming along. Now, Frank, I was going to ask, has the white brick showed up down at Orange Beach yet?
Yes.
There are super brickers down there? I need to get down there and watch that again. But everything seems to be coming along real well.
I'm not gonna ask.
Huh?
I'm not gonna ask.
Well,
Yeah, we don't need to go.
The gym's looking really good.
Jim looks really good. But,
That's two.
We've asked.
Yeah, I mean, there are serious concerns with that contractor. I mean, part of me just wants to call the bond and company
If we do
on
that,
it.
then
It's
gonna-
frustrating.
It's been my experience, it all stops.
Right.
And then we go through a legal process, and it's just, it's, they're making progress right now.
I think Sewell sent notice.
On Foley, we've requested that the contractor give us a revised schedule, which he said he'd have that the first week of October. But just by what we see and the rate they're going, I'm thinking the completion date's somewhere on February. That's when we look at.
All right.
That's what it is.
Anything else on phase 3 before we get into
I think
some
that's
plans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we have phase 3.5. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And then we have phase 3.5, which is kind of what we squeezed in between the two, and that will include Daphne Middle School. So the plan is that the plans are currently being advertised, and so we look to award the bid in October. All things being said, and I think that the final designs of Fairhope are being finalized by the architect and the
We
state.
should bid it in November. We don't want to bid them in the same month because our contractor pool that we feel like are qualified contractor, we're pretty qualified, is kind of slim, and a lot of them have obligated themselves to other projects. So we're trying to let some people finish up stuff before we jump in this.
And if I would have thought about it, I should have brought the rendering for the middle school, because one of the big components in this addition will be, I'm trying to remember the roads, but there will be an additional road that will kind of come on the back side of the soccer fields.
Come off Whispering Pines.
Whispering Pines, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So that'll be tremendous in getting in helping the traffic situation there between Daphne Middle School and Daphne East, and so that was an additional expense, but that was well worth it as we try to reroute. We're also adding additional parking places because we're going to take up the side parking lot.
Okay.
And that's where the wing's going to be. The wing's going to look, very similar to Central Baldwin's wing. It's the same architect, and it's really the same design there, and it's the same building practically, except there'll be a brand new kind of car drop-off line, which will hopefully help that situation tremendously. Okay, phase 4 planning. I wanted to bring up some of the lessons we learned from phase 3 is that in phase 3 we were all excited and we had our plan, and we spent months talking with the county commission. We finally got their approval. We got the money, but the money sat in the bank for I don't know, in some instances 6 to 10 months before we were able to get off the ground on some of these projects. And so every day it sat in the bank was every day we had to pay interest on it. So in order to avoid that situation, knowing that it's a slow process getting designs done, slow process getting the Alabama Building Commission to actually, feel motivated to address some of our projects. And then, a lot of times we go back and forth with them and then get all those things addressed. And so I'd like to go ahead and cover the design fees, so cover the architect fees and those type things until we can kind of get much further along locally. And then have the financing arrangements complete after there's been state approval on the designs. Does that make sense? And so immediately when we pull it from the bank and we have it and we're paying interest, we're breaking ground and we're making those payments out to the contractor. And so we're not running into a situation where it's just sitting in our bank. We're not making interest off of it because we can't. due to some of the tax exempt laws, and so we're just paying it. And so that's one thing I wanted to avoid in this phase 4. So that being said, over the next couple of months, there'll be architect agreements that will come in front of the board. There's one tonight. And so that's our attempt to start that process. And so as we get more defined in our plans and our costs and all those type of things, we can come back to the board with an accurate rendering, with where it's going to be, and address all those questions. We'll also have those renderings when we go to the county commission, because one of the big things we'll have to get a resolution stating that they're going to continue to levy the penny sales tax in order to give us the capacity to borrow from the bank. And so the more information and visuals and details we can have, we felt like the better. So I've allocated local funds and our capital projects funds to go ahead and cover some of the design costs for these projects.
Is the building commission having issue, whatever is slowing them down in this decision-making process that they have? Are they having issue with certain aspects or particular parts of the designs of our building, or is they're just, in general, they're just slow?
Is it politics?
One of the things we see,
Is that a rhetorical question?
you'll have the architectural component, you'll have the mechanical, you'll have the fire safety, and then you'll have the electrical. What we see is we'll get it up there for, just so we get it up there on the 12th. The 13th, 14th, we have basically everything back, but then it may be like on the 20th that the electrical has responded. I guess she's very thorough in her critiquing or her looking at the plans, and we've seen that that's a big gap. And a lot of times in the past we've seen that it's approval with a remark, we have to comply with certain comments. That hasn't been the case for the last several things we've seen up there. It just comes back not approved and do this. I'm not saying they don't trust our design professionals, but it's just that I guess they're so thorough, especially the ones the engineers up there that inspects everything, reviews it. But when we get something back from her, it's always usually non-compliant, and this is why, or just a confirmation. A lot of things you'll see where something's up there that doesn't have the seal on one page and it has on the other 10. They send everything back. Just stuff like that. I mean, it's very minute stuff, but I mean, it's still, like on some of them, on comments, and they send that you didn't send such and such, so you have to go back through the whole review process instead of just addressing those comments. And that's what's frustrating everybody. It's not just Baldwin County, it's throughout the state.
And they're fee-based too. They used to get funding. I believe they're 100% fee-based as well. Yeah. One of the examples is that they had to approve the modular building. So the same exact building, the same manufacturer, same everything at Orange Beach versus Loxley, but they had two separate comments. So I mean, the comments weren't even the same on the exact building. So I don't.
We built pavilions. We did Robertson and Foley first. We got remarks back. Believe it or not, you had to put a firewall in an open pavilion. Yes. We compiled down the first one. We did that. We bid the other ones 3 months later, and we got totally different electrical comments back on what to do on the next. No codes changed, no nothing. It was just totally different. So it's just a shot in the dark when you're sitting up there. You hope you don't have a lot of stuff up front, and you do. Just our design professionals or engineers, they do a very good job of sending it right back up there.
We're trying and using a lot of the same designs for a lot of our schools.
And that helps us out too.
Part of the fact of saving time plus saving money.
Right.
Using designs that had already been approved because we built them somewhere else.
Right.
I know you see H.M. Young and Associates quite a bit. That's our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing design. And when we use the same ones, it really helps the contractors too, because they know from each job how Matt has designed something, so they know before they ever bid it, oh, okay, we ran across that in Bayman. This is what we did. So that really helps us out a lot.
Right. Just doesn't help the building commission.
No.
Okay.
There are also things that we learned in this phase 3. Certain contractors have used the same subcontractor that has taken on more work than they were able to really handle, and so they're fighting about, he doesn't have time to finish this project, and a different contractor on this project. So we're working with our architects and with our team to try to address some of these things that we've discovered in this last round. Our plan would be, with board approval and blessing, of course, would be that we start the discussion with the county commission in the spring of 2020 for this next phase. Phase 3 will be fully paid off in September of 2021. So that alone is a really incredible fact, because we'll have $100 million of construction paid off and not on the books accruing interest. One of the areas in Phase 4 is going to be addressing some of the growth in Spanish Fort, and I wanted to kind of pull out some facts and figures. Rockwell Elementary School is by far the fastest growing elementary school in all of Baldwin County. We've grown about 20% in the last 5 years. Bigger cafeteria. We have 6 portables. When you're growing, 80 to 100 kids per year, there's only so much that you can do, and all that growth is outside the area that's being rezoned. It's down 31. Current enrollment is over 1,100, like I said, with 6 portables on that campus. Projections show that even after the rezoning efforts, that there'll be over 1,300 students in the next 4 years. Stonebridge and Churchill neighborhoods have the largest concentration of students per home in the entire county. Student yield per house and those type things, and it averages out a middle school with over 1,000 student rooms on its campus. See that looking at 6th grade, you're averaging close to 400 students in that grade. So moving that grade out and splitting it between what will be 3 elementary schools that I'm going to go over will hopefully buy us some time and some room to grow at Spanish Fort Middle School. So the big component of addressing those 2, Rockwell and Spanish Fort Middle School, is going to be, it says 40, it's actually 30 acres that have been donated to us for free, which is tremendous. And it's actually a good piece of land that's relatively flat for the area. It's hard to find a flat area in Spanish Fort, and so Stewart, we're looking at doing this project, and it will be the same exact design as Bay Minette School. The only difference is that it will have a gym, because we use the existing gym for Bay Minette Elementary School. Just like our current model with K-6 elementary schools throughout the county, it will be built to accommodate October or November for Stonebridge. So there's going to be some additional site work, because yes, it's a good piece of land. In 31, you'll see there's a lot of construction with a new road that's being built before you actually see the Stonebridge neighborhood, and so this 30 acres will be off that road. And so as we kind of get further along in this process, we'll kind of continue to keep the board apprised. The board, we're currently working with our partner right now on the logistics of getting that land transferred into our name and all of those other things, which I assume will need board approval to get all the legal documents assessed, and so more information coming there.
And on that one too, what we're probably going to be looking at, like in Orange Beach, you'll see a separate bid package. It's going to be probably, we're looking at a site package. So they'll clear the property and actually put a building pad in up to like 6 inches of finished grade. So that'll expedite everything too. So kind of like we'll be sitting in a lull and missing bad weather. So that's probably what we're looking at.
And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to move ahead quickly with Phase 4. Originally we said we'd probably come in 21 as the other phase was ending, but you saw the projections in 4 years. Rockwell's supposed to be 1,300 kids, and Spanish Fort is having portables and overcrowding, so we felt like we really couldn't wait. Next will be, one of the components in addressing the middle school will be making sure all the elementary schools in that feeder pattern can hold the 6th grade. We feel confident because Rockwell just got a wing and a cafeteria. If we can move kids into a new elementary school, we'll be able to convert that school to a K-6. Spanish Fort Elementary School is kind of an interesting campus. I don't have any visuals here, but you'll see it kind of as we continue to work with the designs. But it is kind of piecemealed, and so in the middle of the school you have flat tops that were built in the 60s. Then you have a 2-story there that was built, I think, in '98. You have a newer admin and a newer K1 wing, and then a cafeteria all the way on the other side of the building, and the whole piece of property slopes downwards. What we're thinking here is that in order to not only create the capacity to add additional enrollment, which will be anywhere from 150 to 200 students when we add the 6th grade, to Spanish Fort Elementary School based on some of the latest numbers. Now, we still have to figure out the exact lines to really nail that down, but we're estimated that when the 6th grade comes, it'll move from a little over 600 to 850 students. Is that we can keep some of our existing buildings. And so if you ever been to Spanish Fort, we're going to keep the gym, we're going to keep the admin, and then behind it is like a K1 wing that's newer. We're going to keep that, and we're going to keep the cafeteria. Now, in order to accommodate 6th grade, move out of the flat top buildings that are close to 60 years old and are really not a safe building for students because all the classrooms face outside. The easiest solution was to demo everything from the gym to 225, including the 2-story building. Ideally, we look at a two-story building. So we would demo all of that, use the existing footprint to build a 2-story building, and add additional parking on the front facing 225, because parking is an issue on that campus as well. Looking at a little over 100,000 square feet, estimated cost anywhere from 15 to 16 million. This will, on top of our existing classrooms and facilities, create the capacity for 1,200 students at that elementary school. Our architect, we have decided, our construction planning team has decided to use Otis Gatlin. Otis Gatlin was an architect at, what was his previous firm's name, Frank? Gatlin Hudson.
And Hatchmont McDonald.
And he was directly involved in the design of the new the Daphne East building, Bay Minette Middle, and he also did the expansion on Rosington Elementary. So he has a lot of experience doing school construction in Baldwin County. We also felt like we needed to expand out the architect base. We got a lot of projects going on, and just relying on two, sometimes things kind of, weren't able to get addressed at the manner which we'd like them to, and so we're bringing on Mr. Gatlin, and this will be his big project. The architect contract is on the board agenda for approval. That will be discussed today and approved on Thursday.
How old is the building when you built it?
So the flat top buildings were, I think, built in the 60s, and then the 2-story, I think, was built in 97 or 98. The 2-story that's right by 225. So everyone calls it the new building, but when you think, it's 20-something years old, and we looked at maybe trying to fit a building in the middle of that, but the problem is if you're going to have to do construction, and this is another aspect I'm going to bring. You have to do construction on campus. There's no where you're going to move the kids, and so the other component to Spanish Fort Elementary is that if you kept the 2-story and you renovated the flat top building in between, then students would have to walk through a pathway or something or another
I agree.
in order to get to the cafeteria and to the gym and all that kind of stuff. And so,
but so does that school at Loxley.
Yeah, I agree.
All those buildings.
I agree. All the flat tops needs to go.
To the outside.
I
They're
agree.
not inside. And
Silver Hill's the same way. Absolutely.
yes,
I agree.
And on this one, we were 400 feet from the top of the hill. The building we would be keeping down to the bottom. And another thing too, with that one being so close to 225, with the special needs programs we have now, we have a lot of runners. We'll put key pads in, and that was really a concern because there's really no buffer. Even if we do a fence and that, by putting that 225, you have a parking lot buffer, and then getting it up on a hill under one roof, make everybody feel a lot more comfortable.
So, what are we going to do during construction? So, the good thing about this plan is that the gym will remain, the K1 wing will remain, the admin will remain, and the cafeteria will remain. And if you've been on the campus, next to the We've mapped it out, and we feel like fifth grade off that campus. And so modular buildings give us the ability to move kids in a safe environment while we do construction. I looked to see if there was any additional.
And they're no farther from this baseball field than they would be, say, from that two-story building.
Right.
To the cafeteria. To
That's
the
right.
gym, to
They'll be
the-
closer,
yeah.
much closer to all your main facilities, cafeteria, gym, and those type of things. So it's going to take some logistics there and those type of things. But I looked to see if there was any land available in the Spanish Fort Elementary School zone. There's really not. And so we really had to figure out or usable land. You look at land that's going all over the place, and we had to figure out a way to use what we had to try to address our plan to adding the sixth grade as well as updating the campus. And the good news is that if we can get these two projects done, we estimate that will take care of Spanish Fort for at least the next decade.
Do you plan on building it out to 1,200?
Yes.
Not going back with an addition later, just
Correct.
building it
Ms.
out to
Dawson,
1,200?
Yes, ma'am.
I know that 1,200 student elementary schools isn't always great, but in this county, growing so fast, if y'all said as a board, keep our elementary schools at 600 or 800, we couldn't keep up.
We couldn't do
We'd
it,
have
yeah.
pods of schools popping up everywhere, we couldn't keep up.
There'd be portables out in front of all the
Mr.
schools.
Myers pointed, and y'all pointed out too, that Loxley opens to the outside. You have several Silver Hill. I think with what we're doing here, of course, addressing such a high growth area, I see in the future where we can take those modules, move them to campuses that we already have land, let the students, say at Loxley, be educated in 3 module buildings, just level Loxley Elementary, and then build a school back there on site of a new modern school. That's why I see it doing it at Silver Hill, because just finding land is just tough to do, and it's expensive. So it's cheaper for us to put them in the modules for a year and a half, 2 years, and then level the school and build it back, and then just put them right back in that building. So this seems to be I think it might be a method that can be used by the board for years to come. Because just like at Spanish Fort Elementary, we've got to just completely, take care of that site. It's a terrible site. And in order to build a school back, we've got to move the students. So I'm not a fan of our older schools having open to the outside. I think we all know that needs to be corrected. It's just some of these areas, like John is showing you the numbers, that the growth is unbelievable. I don't know how we're keeping up or how we're going to keep up. I mean, it's just, once something develops in Bay Minette, it's going to be the same issue there. I mean, they're going to come. They're going to come because of a beautiful elementary school. You got a beautiful high school. There's good things going on. But just some areas, whether we like it or not, are more attractive to people to move in than others. I mean, we definitely don't control that, but they're all good points y'all are making.
Well, I think, that people have pretty much adjusted to the fact that elementary schools are going to be, in these fast-growing areas, are going to be, 1,000 to 1,200 students.
Families moving
You
in,
can't-
that's the kind of kids they have. They don't move in with juniors and seniors.
No.
Basically, so. But
What is the projected relief that these things will give to Rockwell? What, you were saying 1,300 if we don't?
Substantial. We can get Rockwell down to 600 and 607. These two plans will take care of the growth concerns in Spanish Fort for at least the next decade. Removing the sixth grade from the middle school, we have the current 2-story addition at the high school, bringing on another elementary school, and I don't foresee in the projections, don't foresee us having any growth concerns if we can knock these out.
by configuration, Spanish Fort Elementary and Rockwell 6th grades, take the 6th grade out of the middle school, it gives them room to grow more, because you're going to have Jimmy Faulkner and those Highlanders. It's just going to continue to grow out there. So,
What about teacher units? Will they remain basically the same with the new school additions?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll follow in the same manner that we
right.
always do.
Whatever has to grow will grow. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to grow it and not provide the proper number of
Absolutely.
units. Of course, some of them might be paid forward. Where we're here.
That's
but,
just standard
yeah.
operating practice. Maybe. So ideally, if we could get if we could get this program,
I'll hold you to it.
yeah,
2021.
yeah. I would like to get the modulars in place by April. I'd like to get the design approved between there, and I'd like the minute that school gets out, we start demo on the school. And I'd like for Spanish Fort Elementary School and Stonebridge to start around the same time. That's why Frank was saying we're going to look at 2 different contracts. If we can get the ground work done at Stonebridge while we're still working on getting the overall building designs approved at the state, that helps us speed that up, because the sooner we can get these projects online, the sooner we can address the inflow and the issue of students that are coming into Spanish Fort every year.
Elementary is kind of a new school, but it's an addition.
Yeah.
So it's not like an 18-month project, I think. So we're shooting for opening in the summer or the August of 2021. You know, that's aggressive, but we feel like we've got room. The architects looked at it, you know. Didn't we say 2021 on that?
We did. We're looking at, it's about a 20-month project. That's what it's gonna take. Since the time we do the demo, and there's a lot of unforeseen on demo.
Yeah.
And when you get to Stonebridge, at Bateman Elementary, the time we start and finish from October was 18 months. And that was pushing everybody, and they worked 7 days a week. So if we give them 20 months, I think everybody feel a lot more.
So that would bring us to fall 22, actually.
22?
Yeah.
I thought we talked about that.
Because, I mean, if we're going to be starting in the summer of 20.
On Spanish
I
Fort
missed
Elementary,
that.
on Spanish Fort Elementary, we
I was
can't
there.
start till we
Yeah. So, you know, if it,
Spanish Fort Elementary.
we can't really start until we demo.
right.
Yeah.
Because, like John was saying, what the plan is, we want to have the modulars in place and jump through all those hoops, sitting on the hill. Then last day of school, everything is moved. The only other way to do it would be to try to move during the school year at some point to do it. I don't see that happening.
I was more curious because the middle school is such an issue.
Yeah.
And the
I
size
know
of the
what-
So-
middle school.
I know what we see it. I'm sorry. Let me back up. It really does. It really doesn't mean. Let's see how I want to word this. When we finish is not that important as far as hitting a school date, because we're already on that campus. They just moved from the modulars, the furniture and everything will be in place. It's going to be kind of like what we're doing at Bangladesh. That's what we discussed with the architect. It's not, if you don't hit that August date, then it's the end of the
So
world.
it's not necessarily
Exactly.
true for summer of 22. It could be during the year of 21, 22.
Whenever we
The
finish.
goal would be Stonebridge, if we get started on summer of 20, we open up fall of 22.
And that's why we're talking about the site package and everything to expedite. But on this one, we're already on the campus, just like we're at Alberta and Bangladesh.
The minute it's done, we can move. And for 1,200 students, we'll build a new cafeteria inside the 2-story building and then repurpose that existing one, probably in more classrooms.
And you're doing the modular like the ones in Orange.
Yes, ma'am, exactly like it.
And so for the time being, I mean, it's probably going to be more affordable brought in at the middle school.
Probably. I mean, you
That's inevitable.
either put them at the middle school, you put them at the elementary school, and since we're bringing 3 modulars there, we've got 6 at Rockwell. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
I
other
know.
way other place to put them. Yeah, I know.
What are those modular wind rated at?
The ones down there were 150.
150.
On the island.
Yes.
I don't want to be in one of those.
I tell you what, I dare you during a hurricane to stay in it.
Yeah.
I ain't no way.
That's what they're rated for, really. Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was wondering, but I know when we had the trailers, they had to get out. They had the whole portables. They had to come out during bad weather.
Yeah, I still think.
And I know that if the right storm, I'm talking about tornado, hits,
And I
it doesn't
think
matter
that's the
brick and
protocol
mortar.
for Orange Beach and for Lockwood. They go into the main buildings. And I'm
Elementary
assuming
school.
They would go to the elementary school at Orange Beach in some inclement weather like that, where there's a tornado or something like that.
Well, I ain't real comfortable with my grandchildren staying in that.
No, sir, not obviously no, sir. They wouldn't be. They would go into the L shape, the new wing they call it. Still, was built in
The new wing.
the 90s.
Yeah, we wouldn't keep them in the modern.
The tide, moving to the tide.
And that's the route the district. Just so y'all know, inclement weather. That's the route the district. When they get on the intercom, they tell everybody to come inside, regardless of what the rating is on a modular or a portable. Everybody comes inside.
All right. Moving on. Also in the plan, as the rezoning efforts go into effect in the fall of 2020, we know that we need to make sure there's capacity in the schools that a lot of kids are being rezoned in. That was part of 3.5 adding on to Daphne Middle School. And just like our earlier conversation we had, we're looking at a 9th grade academy building actually on the campus of Daphne High School. Projections show Daphne High School is going to exceed 1,600 students in 3 to 4 years. In the same manner as Fairhope High, like we talked about, we'll separate the 9th graders on the campus while providing additional growth capacity. Estimated cost, again, we'll have to refine that, but just for the purposes of just kind of going over our preliminary plans, anywhere from 9 to 10 million. And once we have further design, that's why when Frank said that, I was like, sweet. I'm kind of hit my presentation when he said we'll probably never be 9 million again. I was like, we'll see how the design is. One of the I don't know if it's going to be 2-story. I don't know if it's going to be 1-story. We've asked the architect McKee & Associates to try to design it to where it matches.
Something just popping up out of nowhere. I know the Trojan Hall's a 2-story. I'm sorry, but the new wing behind it.
So you could either do it behind, I guess, the new wing. That was new when I was a student there, so it's not so new. Or maybe where the soccer fields are, behind the cafeteria and the act room. Just we asked McKee & Associates to try to draw up some designs and give us some options. And
just keep in mind when we go single story for that large facility, it gets very long.
Yeah.
Very long.
What's the cutoff at the point that moves to a high school of 7A? Is it
You're almost there.
15?
I mean, I want to say
7A just
7A
makes
is
up
somewhere
numbers.
around 10 through 12 is all they count. I mean, you're around the 15, 50 mark.
Yeah, I was
You
thinking
think
around
about that
15.
stuff.
So Daphne's looking at.
They'll be
That's
7.
that's 9th and 10th
Daphne will
grade.
make it through because we're doing a 2-year, 2 years, then they'll redo it again. That's Daphne will be the 7.
You think they would?
I think your smallest, one of your small 7As, if not the smallest, is Fairhope. Fairhope's one of your smallest 7As.
It was, not anymore.
This was.
1,000?
Yeah. 10 to 12.
That's 10.
10 to 12.
My God.
John,
Good.
what's
They
the
did win one in
projection
overtime, didn't
time
they?
You won.
About when
Okay,
you think this will.
This is another top priority project, and so we're really kind of waiting to get some designs, and we'd like to move, if not the summer of maybe move construction in the fall of 2020.
You're looking at probably 18 months.
Yeah.
So
And it would be the same situation. The campuses the additions that we're building on campus, when it's done, we'll move in there.
Yeah,
And
just move,
so
no matter
it's
what
an
you
easy
think.
Yes,
move.
ma'am.
The big thing we've telling our contractor now is the one school we got under construction, we have nowhere to go, and that's Bell Forest. In other words,
Yeah.
if Bell Forest doesn't hit the timeline, there is nowhere to go with those students on the rezone.
But they are moving.
Yeah.
It's moving quick.
Yeah,
Y'all want to know the ADM on that one? What they, the last reclassification, the smallest, remember just 10 through 12, the smallest was Florence High School. They had 1,046.55.
From 10 through 12.
10 through 12.
The east is a little over 1,000.
Yeah, 10
Sounds like,
through 12. So it all depends on your 9th grade. You got huge 9th graders.
Yeah.
That won't affect you.
And we're running close to 500 kids roughly in the 9th grade especially, with a lot of our grades. But
And then the numbers drop.
So you got to think about
That
this.
tends to happen.
yeah.
I know.
It does,
Why does that happen? You would think they'd just follow along, they'd be 510,
yeah.
511.
My
They
hope,
have
I know this might is pie in the sky maybe, but my hopes are that if we can create a better environment for 9th graders, as they make the transition, maybe it will save some of them
Yeah.
and they'll stay on track. But that's just a hopeful thing. So.
Also, looking at projections with J. Larry Newton, J. Larry Newton has, they're growing. They're over 750 students now. We show them getting over 1,000 students by 2022. We also see a ton of green space. If you look at that enrollment area, it's everywhere. And J. Larry Newton has kind of become one of the few places where a family can afford to buy a house, live at a house, and still be in the Fairhope feeder pattern. And so it's hard, using Bill's projections kind of looks at historical data and that kind of stuff and cohorts and that kind of. But we also see every time we get an update from development, there's a new one popping up. There's a new one popping up. There's a new one. There's all these properties for sale. And so just based on all that information, it's just something that if we don't address, in this plan, we're going to have to address it initially. And so we're looking at building a addition similar to Daphne East and Fairhope Intermediate School. I believe maybe around a 16 classroom addition at $4 to $5 million for J. Larry Newton.
John, on these, do we have these slides?
I will send those to you.
I was going to say, if we can have
Yes,
the
ma'am.
slides
Yes, ma'am.
on your preliminary plans
Yes, ma'am.
on the build out.
Yes, ma'am.
You probably have a footprint on the J. Larry Newton, a footprint of where the addition would go. I don't think we have any design yet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's
Yes,
just for
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
explanation
Yes, ma'am.
of each.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah, it would help me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll absolutely do that. And the goal is to have updates, capital project updates throughout the year as we kind of get further along in the design process. We're looking at McKean Associates with J. Larry Newton, and then to round out, the anchor of the fourth plan, like we've mentioned, will be our comprehensive career tech high school. Now there's a lot of work to be done before we move forward with these plans. Budget, just for the building, $25 to $30 million, potentially more. There's a lot of to be determined. Location, we feel like we're working on a location that's in a good spot. Architects, we've asked all three of our architects to come to us with the most innovative designs they can come up with, and renderings, and then whoever kind of impresses us the most, will assign this project to them. Partners, a key part of this program will be partners, whether that be partnering with Coastal, partnering with Austal and Airbus, or car dealerships. I mean, there's going to be such a big collaborative effort in order to pull this off.
Or to help with equipment?
Yeah, equipment, because that $30 million does not include equipment.
Right.
And it also doesn't include, I got a buddy in Tuscaloosa that they went up there, and look, they had this say $30 million to build a school. That didn't touch what it was costing. They had to change bus routes. A lot of those kids that went couldn't drive, so the buses had to bring them and take them back.
Now they don't have a comprehensive high school.
Yeah, but they close.
They're
close.
Yeah.
And see, they said they're starting to lose enrollment because a lot of the kids are not wanting to go because of
that's what we heard when we were there, Mr. Meyer.
Yeah.
Boys, the boys don't want to. They want to go back to the
wasn't
high school
being-
because the girls.
It wasn't being promoted or used.
It's not
Yeah.
sports.
They told us it wasn't being promoted by either the system or the county, because it was built in the city of was it built as a city and the county could use it, or vice versa?
I think it was vice versa.
and the kids weren't coming, they weren't enrolling, and of course that was the one too where they'd come for part of the day and then go home. Now we like some of the design at that school, but just briefly, Lee Lawson came back from his visit in Canada, sat down with us, and myself, John, Frank, and John Gray, and talked about his trip. And now, naturally, I think Lee wants this to happen as much as anybody. I mean, I think we all do, and I know it's been tough for him. But he said all the big players said everything that they want is in Baldwin County. that we're doing everything that they want done. But that, and correct me here, you guys are wrong, but the workforce is not there. They can't draw the numbers, within a radius to get the workforce that they need to accomplish what they wanted. But they said, don't change anything. Keep doing what you're doing. Your idea of your high school, your idea of what you're wanting to do, the environment, your rail, your interstate, your water. Keep doing that. Now this is Lee. And he said, now Lee met with Austell or Airbus. They went and met with Airbus, the county commissioners in Lee this last Thursday, I think, to talk continued, because I understand that either Airbus likes what we're doing or thinking about, and Lee said that Airbus gets their workers, that they need, but they would like to get more workers from the Baldwin County area. They would like to put something where they don't want to draw their workforce, and y'all correct me now, from just the Mobile and surrounding area there. They want to have something where they can pull more in the Baldwin County area. So supposedly there's a partnership that they want to do to talk with us. Coastal wants to be involved. One big thing there is we got land that was going to be donated, we feel, that hadn't changed. I do think that Dr. Pouncey is going to help this situation. His presence as a leader of Coastal and his connections and just, I think that's going to help us strengthen the partnership that Dr. Branch had already established. And
have we done any questioning surveys or whatever to students to gather data on what they would go
unless academics have been doing something? That's,
I mean,
we're basically looking at
building
Lee.
and they will come.
Well, we're looking at
They're
high
not
demand,
working.
high wage.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can't necessarily go on what a student wants, because that might not be
Well, what business needs.
right. But right now it's going to be high demand, high wage.
Right.
And we're looking at maybe starting out with about 6, 7 trades. But there again, it's going to depend on partners.
Yeah.
I mean, if Airbus comes in and helps, if Austell comes in and helps, what's the big company in Foley? No, the
UTC.
They're adding folks, and we were told that Austell, if they don't get the frigate contract, they should get some of it. If they get the contract, it'll be 2,000 extra workers. If they don't get all of it, it'll be 1,000 extra workers. I mean, that's just insane.
And also, partnering with the hospitals, Thomas Hospital, North Baldwin, because I think
For your medical.
our medical piece will definitely be a component in this school as well. And we'll also have to one of the challenges that Joyce will have to do is have the curriculum with the career tech focus on it. If it's a comprehensive standalone high school, which makes the most sense financially, because we'll be a call center and we'll actually get state funding to help with our career tech facility. Currently, north and south, we get a principal and a counselor. That's it. They say the teachers are actually the students. Their base schools at the high school, and so the high school earns the teachers and not the career tech center, and so it gets very difficult to do that. And so having a comprehensive high school will save money as far as running routes in between and dealing with schedule changes. It will also allow us a lot more state funding in order to get the teachers units from the state in order to run this, as long as we can have over 250 kids.
I just want you
Because
to
it
look
would be
at
like a high school.
Yes, ma'am.
It would, its own cost center.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we're shooting.
Well, the students attending there, will they be giving up some of the high school experience, like band, football?
So what we'd like to do is just like the virtual
Like
school.
the virtual school
so
concept.
the virtual school is a call center, and so if you want to play football at the virtual school, then you can play football at your base school. If you want to go to the band or you want to do the choir,
You can't play football at the virtual school. If you want to play football,
Unless you want to play
and you're
virtual
enrolled at the
football.
virtual school.
He said your base school.
that's what I said, right?
Yeah, we know what you
Okay.
mean.
He went around to that, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Like if you live in Fairhope, you go to the
If
you can go play
at Fair. Sorry if I said that wrong. They're going to be playing Madden at the virtual school. And,
That's esports. Esports.
I'm going to be the AD there. And,
Virtual girl
No, but that would be the intent, and so you would still have the ability to use some of your existing high schools to do the extracurriculars, whether that be choir, to band, to football, to all of those things. And then as it grows, you never know. Maybe they have athletics there. I mean, again, the possibilities are endless there. So,
But, he laughs about the e-games and stuff.
Well,
Colleges are giving major scholarships
Yep.
to students
Yep.
in the e-game business. Because that's big business for them. And you just had some high school student win $3 million or something. I heard
Or
about
some
that.
virtual gaming.
For gaming, yeah.
Lot less headache.
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
But this cost does make me nervous. So I'm going to try to be saving up money because I'm afraid that this is going to be more than
The only way
that.
we
Just
can
all
go that route is
disclosure.
with our partners. I mean, we've already made that known to Lee, we've made it known to others, that we need partners in order to keep our cost right in here.
All right, so that rounds out phase 4. And so here's the summary that we're looking at from a cost perspective. So we're looking at potentially $75 to $80 million. I'm thinking from a financial standpoint, borrowing $75 million, and I will try to use as many different sources as I can to get us 80 to potentially 85 if needed. Using state capital, using the half-cent sales tax, using surplus, using everything that I can. Again, if we borrow $75 million and we do it over a 4-year period, it'll be $19 million a year in principal payments.